right, it's 6 a.m. on the dot. Very good morning to you. It's a beautiful Wednesday morning. You could be asleep, you could be tuned into a different channel, you could be on your phone, you could literally be doing anything, but you chose to be here with us on Kusile Breakfast Show, Eswatini TV. Thank you so much. We will try to make it worthwhile and an enjoyable decision that you have made. My name is Sifiso Ngumalo. Happy to co-host this program this morning with my lovely co-host, Kusile Sitole. Good morning.
Good morning, Sister. How are you this morning?
Doing fantastic.
You look lovely.
Thank you. I appreciate
Quite
it.
handsome,
I
actually.
try not to share you, right? Anyway, let me not brag. I want to say we will take you to the front lines of what is happening in the United States, in New York, where heads of states are convening for the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly, as well as what is happening domestically. We take you to those front lines as well when we speak development in the Kingdom of Eswatini, when we speak social issues, and when we speak youth advocacy, agricultural advocacy, pretty much everything under the umbrella of development. And also, we also have a lowdown on what is happening in our sports fraternity with our sports news team that does a dedicated job in making sure that they put you abreast with the latest in our sports news. But we also do have our guests, and Notsile, I'm sure you have something you want to tell the guests about what is happening today.
Of course, but first, let's get you up to speed this morning. U.S. President Donald Trump said that with time, patience, and the financial support of Europe, and in particular NATO, Ukraine could regain its territory from Russia, who he said had been fighting aimlessly. Ukraine has been able to regain some territory captured in the first month of the full-scale Russian invasion in February of 2022, though Moscow's forces have been putting pressure along the entire front line for months. Now, in other news, according to Namibia's Environment and Tourism Department, more than 80 buffaloes have been killed after they trampled over each other and drowned in a river. The buffaloes were being chased by lions in neighboring Botswana when they fell from a dip cliff into the Chobe River on the Namibian side on the border. Actually, coming back to the program, as my colleague had just mentioned, we're in conversation with Mpiveni Meat Industries with new products and a newly opened halal shop. Stay tuned for that one at exactly 7:30.
I cannot wait for that conversation, but also such a very frustrating story from Namibia, bordering within Botswana. 80 of them.
Injustice there.
Yes, very, very bad. But anyway, we want to also look at a very serious question this morning that sits at every creator, or rather that every creator must face when you work or when your work leaves your hands. Who protects it and who ensures that you are paid for it? Eswatini's Copyright and Neighboring Rights Society, popularly known as Eswatini, is stepping forward with regional workshops that go beyond slogans. They focus on the mechanics of copyright, the reality of royalties, as well as the business of turning creativity into sustained value. At the desk this morning, we'll be joined by Eswatini's director, Meli Hlanze, who's going to lay out what this effort means for writers, what it means for performers, producers, and every creative mind in this country. Another critical conversation this morning. But that's your lowdown, 4 minutes after 6. Let's look at the top stories this morning, making headlines across print media.
On the Eswatini Observer front page this morning, Africa must bridge gap between vision and reality. That's according to His Majesty King Mswati III, who is part of the leaders attending the UN General Summit. In other news, MP sparks drama at army recruitment. That's a story you can find on page 2 of the Eswatini Observer, when Hlambeni MP Manzizwane disputes winners, leading to footballer being disqualified. In another headlining story on the Eswatini Observer, I have left MVA with clean hands. That's according to former CEO, who rather decided to resign.
I wonder if members of parliament should be that involved in this recruitment process. But anyway, perhaps none of my business. We will look at the back end of this publication where on that photograph we see a coach there, and that is Nuro, who is the new head coach, and Ernest is his assistant, as the EFA bets on homegrown talent within the coaching sector. They are expected to announce new squad today, and of course the EFA announcing technical changes to the Sihlangu Semnigati's coaching setup following the departure of Croatian-born coach Zdravko Lugarasic, who failed dismally. Another news, Birds fans fear collapse after players' exit. That is Mbabane Swallows fans that have taken to social media to express deep concern over the club's declining state. This follows the abrupt departure of Ghanaian midfielder Alvin Shabashi. Nsingizini, the Shiselweni-based outfit, unveil a new kit. This is after finishing the previous season as the Premier League champions. Hotspurs and their renowned technical sponsor have unveiled striking new home and away kits for the 2025-2026 season.
On the Eswatini Daily News front page this morning, King Turkmenistan President to strengthen bilateral relations. In another headlining story, His Majesty King Mswati III has called upon African countries to bridge the gap between their vision and the current reality on the ground. His Majesty was speaking through Finance Minister Nel Rockenberg here during the global launch of the Africa Strategic Investment Alliance in the United States of America, where His Majesty is currently on an official visit. Also, in another headlining story on the Eswatini Daily News, Africa unites in Eswatini for first agroecology and climate justice indaba that was held at the Mavuso exhibition. Actually, it's ongoing. We can expect another installment today. Actually, we can expect the proceedings to continue even today. In another headlining story, more disqualified as Army tightens recruitment rules at Ntlambeni.
We turn to the back end of this publication, as we say, by Tono Pagati, for all those stories that Notsile just articulated. And then we look at Yeki, who is in a new look. Sihlangu, the Nsingizini star, will be part of the nation's pride squad that will face Angola and Cape Verde in the 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifiers next month. In other stories, Real Leopard dominate Res Siaka one-day tournament, while Chiefs loan out Zwane Mashiane to Siwelele.
Right, those are just some of the headlining stories we're waking up to this morning. Be sure to catch yourself a copy just so you're up to speed in terms of what's happening in the country. But for now, we'll catch a net break. After that, we are back for our first bulletin for the day in Eswatini.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.za. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.sz.
Ngiphindze ngivusele ngolumhlenati tindzaba. Silo semhlaba singenele ukuvulwa kwemhlangano webaholi bemava kamhlaba wemashumi lasiphohlongo lobanjelwe enhlekohovisi yakamhlaba eNew York. Lo mhlangano uvulwe ngokwemtsetfo ngumabhalane jikelele wenhlangano yakamhlaba Antonio Guterres. Lokhutsate abaholi bemave emhlaba ukuthi bangapheli emandla futhi bangayekeli kulwela kuthula. Sitfundi necinisekisa ukuthi bonke bantfu baphila impilo leyemukelekile.
Silo semhlaba singenele umhlangano webaholi bamave akamhlaba eNew York enhlekohovisi yakamhlaba hlangene wemashumi lasiphohlongo. Live leSwatini liyingcenye yemave lalikhulu nemashumi layimfica nakuthathu langemalunga enhlangano yakamhlaba hlangene sukela ngeminyaka 1968 uma litfola inkululeko. Silo nebaholi bemave bahlengene ngephansi kwesicubulo lesithi Better Together, 80 years and more for peace, development and human rights. Baholi bemave emhlaba baphume ngetinkhani kungenela lona mhlangano lobanjelwe khona eveni leMelika. Kulo mhlangano ingwenyama beyisingethwe induna yetangephandle nekubambisana nalamanye emave impungapholi leShakhantu naleyo lonxuselele eSwatini enhlanganweni yakamhlaba His Excellency Thami Dlamini. Lo mhlangano uvulwe ngokwemtsetfo ngumabhalane jikelele wakamhlaba His Excellency Antonio Guterres lothe kuthula kwamhlaba hlangene kusengachubeka kube ngulelinye lemathulusi lafaka sandla lesibandi kugcina kuthula nekuphepha emhlabeni wonke jikelele. Ukhutsateke nebaholi ukuthi babe nendlela yekukhetha likusasa lelichakazile bangapheli emandla futhi ekubhekana nekumelana netimo tsite.
Together, let us choose to invest in a United Nations that adapts, innovates, and is empowered to deliver for people everywhere. Excellencies, my overriding message comes down to this. Now is the time to choose. It's not enough to know what the right choices are. I urge you to make them. I grew up in a world where choices were few. I was raised in the darkness of dictatorship, where fear silenced voices and hope was nearly crushed. Yet, even the bleakest hours, especially then, I discovered a truth that has never left me. Power does not reside in the hands of those who dominate or divide. Real power resides from people, from our shared resolve to uphold dignity, to defend equality, to believe fiercely in our common humanity and the potential of every human being. I learned early to persevere, to speak out, to refuse to surrender, no matter the challenge, no matter the obstacle, no matter the hour. We must and we will overcome. Because in a world of many choices, there is one choice we must never make, the choice to give up. We must never give up. That is my promise to you, for peace, for dignity, for justice, for humanity, for the world we know is possible when we work as one. I will never, ever give up. Thank you.
Mengameli welive leMelika His Excellency Donald Trump ethula inkulumo yakhe uvete kabanti ngobumcoka bekuphela kwempi yeGaza. Enze wakhutsata baholi bemave ngekuqinisekisa kuvikela tive emaveni ngekwehlukana nekubuketa inhlalakahle yato.
Every leader in this beautiful hall today represents a rich culture, a noble history, and a proud heritage that makes each nation majestic and unique, unlike anything else in human history or any other place on the face of the earth. Each of us inherits the deeds and the myths, the triumphs, the legacies of our own heroes and founders who so bravely showed us the way. Our ancestors gave everything for homelands that they defended with pride, with sweat, with blood, with life, and with death. Now the righteous task of protecting the nations that they built belongs to each and every one of us. So together, let us uphold our sacred duty to our people and to our citizens. Let us protect their borders, ensure their safety, preserve their cultures, treasure, and traditions, and fight for their precious dreams and their cherished freedoms. And in friendship and really a beautiful vision, let us all work together to build a bright, beautiful planet, a planet that we all share, a planet of peace and a world that is richer, better, and more beautiful than ever before that can happen.
Usaqhubeka lo mhlangano baholi bemave emhlaba bagqugqudelwe ukuthi bafake isandla kuletha ukuthula kubantu baka-Israel nebase-Palestine kanye nemhlaba wonke. Tindzaba letikhulunyisiwe kulo mhlangano tifaka ekhatsi kucinisa tekuthula nekuphepha emhlabeni, intuthuko le-Kusile, ukuguquguquka kwesimo selitulu, temalungelo, temphilo, inhlakanipho yekwakhiwa lelingisako, i-artificial intelligence, kuswelakala kwekudla, nekulingana kutebulili. Baholi bemhlaba lokufaka ekhathi imvubo yemhlaba babheke ukuthi bethule tinkhulumo tabo kulona mhlangano. Etindzabeni kubika Pholile Maziya, Anazweli Masuku namxolisi Mavimbela enhloko hhovisi yakamhlaba eNew York.
Libandla lenkundla yasenhlambeni nabo bandla ncane bemiphakathi langaphansi kwalenkundla bakhala ngekuthi bamvula abasha labaphumelele nakubuthwa emasotsha abasibo balenkundla. Sotsha Dlamini welibandla lelibutha emasotsha etinkundleni uthi laba labaphumelele bahlolwe ngiyo indlunkulu nelibandla lenkundla ukuthi vele bahlala khona enhlambeni.
Emsebenzini wokubuthwa kwemasotsha uqale kahle enkundleni yasenhlambeni ngalesibili ekseni. Lelibandla nelibandla lenkundla bandla ncane babese bahlola bomathise labo bebede nalabaphethe bobhukwane bekuphuma nekungena event bavele babacele ukuthi bakhweshele eceleni, nalabo ke bomatise babo labangabidi imiphakathi yalenkundla, nalabo lethi lenkundla nendlunkulu ayibati bebakhweshiswa. Ibese yakhala ke indweba labo labatethembako bagijima emakhilomitha lamathathu nakubili kuhamba nekubuya 3.2 kilometers. Laba labathathu labaphumelele batibekele kanjena njengoba lo mbutho uthatha babili bobabe namunye make ngenkundla iyinye.
Ngijabule kakhulu. Bengacabanga ukuthi nami ngingabashiya ngale ndlela ngende ngayo namuhla. Abengijime ngedwana.
Ndiva ngijabula ukuthi nami sengakhona ngene embuthweni etikuvikela. Ngemandla ami nokutumisela. Ukutumisela lokukhulu bengijima kakhulu. Lokho kusho ukuthi kimse impumelelo yasekhaya kithi nasemangweni.
Ngacala kade ngidilungiselela. Bengisolonke kade ngikulinzile. Lo yaminyaka lo yale begcina khona kuthathwa kwahlkwala. Ngangikhona ngena ngekhathi ngigijime bengihlula ama exercise most especially the press up.
Sile sifuna abantu balapha. Sifuna abantu abalakisi stawukho. Nakuya lapho asuka khona. Ngibani ukuthi abasimelele ethi balakisi. Sanfela cabanga ukuthi ngabe sente kuwe.
Libandla ke lenkundla nabo bandla ncane balemiphakathi behlukene ekhathi bakhala ngalaba labawinile ukuthi abasibo balenkundla ngekudalwa bakhona bekuhlala netihlobo tabo bakhona futhi labahlala kulenkundla ngekusebenta. Kanti lokumangaliso lombutho ukuthi bonke laba labangena esitikini bagijima bahlolwe libandla lenkundla nabo bandla ncane kube seke kungenwa egumeni nelibandla lelibutha emasotsha etinkundleni lilunga lePhalamende lenkundla yasenhlambeni umhlonishwa amanzi izwane nendvuna yemcubo emphakathi wasenhlambeni Amos Lulane baveta tikhalo tabo.
Labanye basemaphalaleni, labanye basembelebeleni, labanye bahlulwa nokukhomba nje ukuthi ngibani makhelwane wakho kulabanye labaphumelele. So buhlungulekele sesinabo senkundla lokho lesicabanga ukuthi awusitakuya kubantu abadzala labasibukele endzabeni tembutho. Akusikahle nje ukuthi umuntu angafike awine ngekuthi uqashe kuphi lapho sokungena ngalokuthi ngicashe lapha mina. Akasiyo kwalapha utawuhamba ayothuthukisa vele indzawo yakubo yale emaphalaleni noma embelebeleni.
Umuntu utenge umuntu oqasha la Nhlambeni ngoba kuvute nemisebenzi socela indlu yemuntu ukuthi amana ahlale khona bese ke lo muntu loyo songenela la kana kusiyo wala ngekubuka kwethu bekungaba kahle lokuthi umuntu lo kanjalo phela nakufike leso sikhathi naye akahamba enkundleni yakuwo.
Lokuleli bandla lelibutha emasotsha etinkundleni Sotsha Dlamini uthi sigaba sekuhlola sesengcile lo mbutho nje uhamba nalabo labawinile.
le bakuvetile ukuthi khona kubona la kuphandle bona khona ku identify abantwana ngalokho sina singena ku identification niyathi nasekukhethwa nakuso umuntu wala kuyekhulunywa ngethi indlela letinenge lengeke mina ngizengene kude kodwa niyatadi nani kuthi akusilo ukuthi njena unangu yashifa kuphela kuyasho ukuthi nasohleli la isikhathi lesingaka eligible ukuthi ungakhetha kuleyo lokho kanjani sengile ku stage se identification ba confirm labala ukuthi labantwana labalambe kwethu bonke balasa bagijimisa sibekile ekuqaleni ukuthi saze sedlule kule stage se identification bagijima abantwana wathi akasiwa la akusevakala phela ngoba nakangagijimsite wala
lo mbutho ke uncusa naletinye tinkundla usachubeka lo msebenzi welive ukuthi titenedise ngalo msebenzi wokuhlola kude kubade kusolana nekuthi ke tinkundla tikhumbule ukuthi umuntu ugunyatwa tingoni letahlukene ukuthi abitwe ngokuthi waloyo mphakathi akusiye nje inombolo yendlunkulu kuphela lo bikako nguSamkelisiwe Khoza enhlambeni.
Umsebenzi wokubuthwa kwamasotsha enkundleni yasemfonganeni uhambe kahle nohambe embili kubomake kube ngumfundisi wesikole lesiphakeme saseManzini Central lowendali bangala ka Form 5 umbutho wetekuvikela ubonge kubambisana kwenkundla bobandla ncane nalombutho okusachutshwa lo msebenzi.
Umsebenzi wokubuthwa kwamasotsha ngalesibili Nthambama uchubekele enkundleni yasemthongwaneni libandla lalenkundla nabobandla ncane bemiphakathi lengaphansi kwalenkundla bahlola labamfula abasha ukuthi bafanele yini kungena lo msebenzi kulenkundla yasemthongwaneni. Umbutho wetekuvikela ke ubese ugcoba ubeka liphawu kulabo lethi lenkundla sebangangena isitikini batizamele yona inhlanhla. Ikhaleke indweba kwasuka lithuli kulabo labativako ukuthi bangakhona kuba ngemasotsha lohambe embili kubo babe kube nguMancoba Sangweni wesibili kwaba nguNtsika Shongwe kanti kubomake khona kube ngumfundisi wesikole lesiphakeme saseManzini Central zodwa Mkhatshwa lo wenda libanga la ka Form 5
kukhulu futhi kushola kuningi kakhulu impi nakufika isikhathi sokuthi intimela ngakhona intimela sinsinyalo bangakhona ukuphuma esandleni sabadala.
Ngijabule kakhulu ithuba leli ngabe kumnyaka wami icala lona ngigijima umbutho wamasotsha hayi ngale race ke hayi beka sinzi manga ngoba lamalanga silungisela imbubo emarathon.
Ngiyabonga nje lethuba ngitholile namhla ukuthi libe luhle kimi ekhasi nasemndenini ngitsanza ukuthi ngiyabonga kakhulu kimi bisho impumelelo ekhaya umndenini hlobo nebangani.
Libandla lenkundla nabo bandla ncane balemiphakathi yasemthongwaneni babonga khamba kahle kwalomsebenzi bakhuthatha ke nalabo labangakaphumeleli ukuthi bathi sebenzise tikhwama tekuthuthukisa bona bamfula abasha.
Ngikhanza kunesidingo lesikhulu ukuthi uhulumende akafike la khona lamathuba emisebenzi abe ngila aqithiwe. Ngiyakholwa futhi ukuthi abantu labasha bagonga take advantage inzaba ukuthi basebenzisa tikhwama etikhona nasenkundleni bakwazi ukuthi baqala imisebenzi abangathi nje ngoba sebahlulekela umohla nje umsebenzi lomuntu abangasakhona bese sabalahlekelwa lithemba.
Kuhambe kahle kakhulu bagijimile bantwana futhi kule speed lesilebe ngisibonile bebangakafanele bengibakhobosa kulokugijima kwabo ngithi hayi kangiboni ukuthi akwendeka kanje ikakhulu kwathi lo mfana lo beku number 1 mangabe bengingabahlelisa bekude kusho number 4 emva kwakhe
kubebede nemsindvo nabo bandla ncane bami benkundla yami yasemthongwaneni kule mphakathi lemine cishe umsebenzi bawende kahle kakhulu cishe nje wonke logijimile la bangethembisile ukuthi wakhona la enkundleni yasemthongwaneni.
Sotsha Dlamini lokuleli bandla libutha emasotsha etinkundleni ubonge wona umoya wekubambisana kule nkundla wavete lokho lokumele bakunake laba lese baphumelele.
Ngaphandle kwaloko ukuthi ethwale uma kungabe kungendeka ukhaze ukuthi kule sikhashanyana lesi nje soyaboshwa so sengingeni ngoba ngakhathi nje sikufuna sesingasakutfoli noma ngabe khanze siqala lo talo wina kapho ngakhathi usevalo lethina sesikufuna okhanze sivele sovele uyasala.
Lo msebenzi utawuchubekela kuletinye tinkundla kude kube inyanga yelweti kulomnyaka. Lo bikako nguSamkelisiwe Khoza emthongwaneni.
Tinhlangothi tekulima leqhamuka kumave Africa tihlangene emavuso Trade and Exhibition Center kaManzini kubuka ukuthi yini lengendiwa kulima ngendlela lenganyukubeti imvelo tetawunetisa tidzingo tesive tekudla ngendlela lekhonsako Agroecology. Akhuluma emhlanganweni lobanjwe yiPelham Association mabhalane lomkhulu etiko letekulima Sydney Smelane lebekade amelele imvuna yelitiko letekulima uthi uma lendlela yekulima ilandzelwe kahle ingadlala indima lenkulu nekukhanga bahlanyeli imali.
Mapalanelo omkhulu etiko letekulima uthi sive lesibhalelwa ku-70% kuleli sitiphilisa ngekulima. Uyachaza ukuthi nanoma etekulima tibukwe ukuthi tingadlala indzima lebandi ekutfutfukiseni umnotfo, kucedza buphuya nekutfutfukisa impilo yesive, kepha lokhu kubonakala kungefiki ezingeni lelibhekekile kumava ase-Afrika.
We know that despite the growing recognition of agroecology in food systems, livelihoods and climate adaptation for agrarian communities and in economies in Africa, agroecology remains less supported by public policies and under-financed.
Uyachaza ukuthi tekulima tibhekana netinkinga letahlukene lokufaka ekhatsi kugucuka kwesimo selitulu lokwehlise umkhicito. Mapalanelo omkhulu uthi kulima ngendlela lenakekela imvelo letawunetisa tidzingo tesive tekudla ngendlela lekhonsako i-agroecology kufanele kwesekelwe ngemali njengobe loko kutawutfutfukisa indlela abalimi labasatfutfuka labalima ngayo emave ase-Afrika abe nekudla lokwanele. Sihlalo welibandla lebacondzisi lephelam kumava ase-Afrika uthi tinhlangosi letahlukene lokufaka ikhatsi emabhizinisi latimele kufanele tibambisane kutfutfukisa kulima ngendlela lenakekela imvelo letawunetisa tidzingo tesive tekudla ngendlela lekhonsako.
I call upon all stakeholders, governments, researchers, civil society and our international partners to join hands with us in scaling agroecology.
Uthi kufanele kufakwe kakhulu emandla ekwenteni lucwaningo lotawutfutfukisa lendlela yekulima. Uyaveta ukuthi kufanele kushaywe nemitsetfo letawukhutsata kutsi emave akhicite tinhlanyelo tawo latawutisebentisa ngendlela lafisa ngayo. Gabriela lobuya enhlanganweni yakaSahi uthi lolu hlobo lwetekulima ngalokungayinyukubeti imvelo lutawuba nemthelela wekuthi emave akhone kutikhicitela kudla lokwenele.
Agroecology, as said before, is not simply a set of farming methods or techniques. It is a holistic approach that combines science, indigenous wisdom, and social values.
Libhange lemhlaba i-World Bank lithi kulima ngalendlela kuyasita ekutheni kukhule umkhicito kanti futhi kudlala indzima lenkulu kuvikela kugucuka kwesimo selitulu kulokunye. Lobikako Nelswendla ngamandla nginavuma inkosi inzinisa kaManzini.
Inyuvesi yelakuleli University of Eswatini iqinisa imetamo yokucedza kuhlukubetana kwanoma kwani kule nyuvesi lokufaka ekhatsi kukagadlelwa kwabafunzi nangekuhlukubetwa ngulabo labathi bathandzana nabo kubala kulokunye. Ngaleso sizatfu le nyuvesi kanye nemkhankaso we-1 billion Rising Solidarity sebasayine sivumelwano sekusebenzisana.
Esikhatsini lesengcile bekuhle kuba nembiko yokuhlukubeteka kwabafunzi kule nyuvesi yelakuleli. Kulenye indzaba singani sajuba sandla semfundzi sase siyatibulala kanti kulenye indzaba abafunzi labathathu bagagadlelwe egumbini lekufundzela. Lisekela lemphathi kule nyuvesi Professor Justice Thwala uthi batibophelele kulwana lobucala kule nyuvesi.
Si-university nathi sikubonile kuhlukumeta kwema-students labosisi nabomake khona e-university. Sase sibona kuhle ukuthi sibambisane na-1 billion Rising ukuthi sizame ukuthi abantu badi ukuthi kuze ukuthi live liqhubekele embili kufuneka kuphele kuhlukumeta nekuhlukumetekwa kwamantombazana nekuhlukumeteka kwabomake.
Umcondzisi wemkhankaso we-1 billion Rising Solidarity lapha e-Afrika Xolani Hlatshwako uchaza ngetindlela letokwenziwa kulwana lobucala kule nyuvesi.
Kunalaminye tinhlelo lesitawutenda lesitenda emmangweni njengoba 1 billion Rising ma-community settings noma tigungu tekucocisana. Sitabe sinawo na university kuze ukuthi batowufunza ukuthi kwentekani emmangweni athini lama issues and basafundzela batfole lo lwati ekutheni letintfo nasetenteka mbamba tintfo letinjani. Sitawuphindze sibe nekucala khona nesigungu sethu sekucocisana la university ngoba indzaba yekufundisana nekulwa nekuhlukubeta indzaba lekufuna sichubeke sifundisane ngayo. So nala university njengoba professor ashito ukuthi indzaba yekuhlukubeteka ikhona. Sifuna kutakha letigungu letekucocisana kuze ukuthi kube nespace lapho batawuhlala khona bafunzi bativete ukuthi beva kanjani.
Gana umcondzisi wetekuthi chaza emkhankasweni 1 billion Rising Solidarity umhlabelo wetingoma te-hip hop kuleli Thamsanqa Harris Sibanze uthi batawusebenzisa tekuthi chaza kufinyelela kubafunzi.
So ours is then to not only
equip them with the knowledge and information, but then to also charge them to be the ambassadors that then go back to the areas where they come from.
Sibanze uthi inyuvesi lakuleli nguyinye indzawo lapho khona yonke inkundla elakuleli inemuntfu loyimelele. Uthi kwabo nje kutsi banike labantu labasha lwati kuti batawuhamba babuyele emangweni yabo bafike baluhlanyele. Uthi batawusebentisa tekutichaza kufinyelela kulaba bafunzi. Utawuthi eminyakeni lotako ngenyanga yeNdlovana kwentiwe umcimbi lomkhulu wekutichaza emabaleni ale nyuvesi lapho kutawuhanjiswa khona imilayeto yokulwa nekuhlukumetana ngetebulili. Lobikako ngumfortune Dlangamandla ngisenyuvesi kwaLuseni.
Nakutemidlalo umceceshi welicembu le-Royal Leopard Edwin Mathebula uthi umlando wasebholeni ubafundzise ukuthi kuncoba umlende wecala kusho ukuthi sebavele bachubekele esigabeni lesilandzelako njengoba kungenteka noma yini emlendeni wesibili. Mathebula bekakhuluma ngesikhathi licembu lakhe lichubeka nemalungiselelo emlende wesibili nelicembu le-Young Africans yase-Namibia lotawudlalelwa enkundleni yasive noma yesive ngasomhlolo ngalesihlanu kuleli viki. Kanti ngakulokunye Peter Emmett locecesha umdlalo we-horse riding ngaphansi kwenhlangano ye-Eswatini Equestrian Federation uthi kungenela imichuzelano yangaphandle leyahlukene kubasite kakhulu ukuthi baqale kuthola imendlela emidlalweni yelvekati le-Afrika. Emmett vetelo kwemva kokuba bathole imendlela yeligolide emidlalweni yema-Inter-Africa Championship Competition yeminyaka wa-2025 eNingizimu Afrika. Ngolumhlanga lethu kucatha indzaba tetfu ngelwimi lweSwati namhla ekuseni sasasa likhefu nasibuya sifiso utabe yaxoxisana nemcondzisi wenhlangano ye-Copyright Society kuleli.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.za. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.sz.
Kude lesinye isikhathi ngaphandle kwalesi
aba-researche bafunze.
Being risky means ukuthi nalokuwa kwayo kulula.
Nathi kufuna sente ukukhicita lokusembili.
When you choose your adventures, you do so with an open heart and a desire for the unexpected. You embark on journeys to discover new worlds full of wonder. You choose a path to awaken your senses, a world to make you look up and realize just how inspiring this life can be. Arrive and awaken your heart. Explore life in ways only thought possible in your dreams. Discover just how far you go to expand your understanding of life's greatest mysteries. There's just one place on this planet with so much to offer. Now is the time for you to have the royal experience.
Right, welcome back. You're still watching Kusile Breakfast Show. It's exactly 35 minutes after 6. Thank you for staying with us. You know, the conversation around copyright may feel like an abstract conversation and the word itself until it's your own work that is on the line. And of course, for Eswatini's creative industry, from the music that is played on our radio to the films that are screened in our theaters to books as well as digital art, the stakes are real. Too often, creators produce, distribute, as well as share without even seeing fair compensation. That's the gap that Eswatini is trying to close. And with me, I have the director, Melihlanze, who is going to take us through how they plan or how they continue to close this gap, really. It's not even a plan anymore. It's something that is undertaking. Meli, good morning to you. Welcome to the program.
Morning, Sfiso. Thank you for having me, and morning to the viewers at home.
All right. Look, I want us to begin by understanding Eswatini, it's a small market.
Yeah.
Very, very small market size. And too often our creators rely on live shows, community. We see a lot of radio and even cross-border exposure. I think one of the artists from Manzini by the name Kusile was just posting a vlog when he was in Mozambique. So part of that cross-border exposure becomes important for them. Yeah. Why is copyright protection important or an imperative now more than ever?
Well, if you look at the thriving creative economies around the world, you look at the United States of America, for example, you look at the UK, they have very thriving creative economies, and the foundation of that is copyright. In order to be able to extract the true value of the creative sector, you need a very robust copyright framework. And we have that in Eswatini through the Copyright and Neighboring Rights Act of 2018.
Yeah.
And basically what we're saying that it's not every contributor who gets to share the limelight or to share the dividends of being on stage. You're mentioning events, you're mentioning all other things that involve primarily the performing artist. We're saying there's other contributors involved in that chain of creation. It might be the person who wrote the song, it might be the producer, it might be the person who invested the record label.
Right.
There's many other people that need to get something back, and what we're saying is in Eswatini we now want to establish a thriving and a sustainable creative economy that will allow for anyone who participates to get fair compensation and basically to earn a living. We want to create jobs through the creative sector.
Yeah. What could be, if we were to list some of the most common realities that our creators face, and of course we want to appreciate those from your vantage point as the director and as a practitioner. I know that you work a lot with artists as well. You know, it could be a musician whose song is played at every event without a cent or any return at all, or it could be filmmakers whose work is copied and circulated informally.
Yeah,
that happens.
So that's the biggest challenge that we're faced with in the country, that we have this creative sector where a lot of young people are active, but they're not getting compensated for the use of their works. Of course, this is something Eswatini is working on changing. We've put in place lots of guiding principles and tools and systems that we'll be implementing to make sure, but that is the biggest hurdle that we're trying to get over. Ensuring that artists, creators as a whole, get paid. And the challenge for us that we've seen is that it's more a mindset shift than the actual payment of copyright licenses. It's more getting the public, especially the users of copyright, to understand and appreciate that creative works are an input into a business like any other input that is paid for. Therefore, we have to pay for whether it's the music we use, whether it's the books that we utilize in our institutions and in our organizations, whether it's even the films, whether local or international. The beauty of copyright is that it doesn't segregate or differentiate to say this is worth more because it's local or this is worth more because it's international. We're just saying, let's allow our local creators to have an opportunity to realize their dreams and get paid while they're doing it.
Yeah, I think you're mentioning something that is very sobering and important. The idea around a mindset shift. And I'm speaking from the perspective of a consumer, and I'm holding myself accountable myself. Too often, some of my favorite artists, I put pressure on them and I pester them, you know, release the album as if that's my album. You know, too often as the listener or the viewer, we have this sense of entitlement towards this creative work, and it's somewhat then steals and negates from the real work that they do, just like me waking up and coming here. It's really their job. And I think it's an important reminder that you are making, but it also goes back to that whole ecosystem that you mentioned on your first answer, that, you know, there's a whole ecosystem within the creative work that is being produced, the writer, the singer, during the events, the drama, whatever. I think I want you to emphasize on that so that we at least appreciate that this is someone's job indeed and they deserve to be compensated.
Yeah, and we as the consumers or as the market, we are also valuable in that chain.
Right.
Because creators can create whatever work, but it's not worth much unless the market consumes it. So the shift is not only the payment of the usage of the work, but it's the actual consumption. We also have to shift from being a market that is consuming a lot of international works to start consume more local works, because the principle of copyright says pay the one that is due the payment. So if we are consuming international, what we will find is a situation where we will be remitting a lot of royalties to international creators. So it's a shift in many ways. It's a shift firstly in understanding that now is the time where we have to fairly compensate them. And secondly, now is the time we have to prioritize the local creators. And I think the beauty of it is this is coming at a time where our local creators are really making efforts to compete with the international artists as well. You look at the films that we are creating now, you look at the music that we're creating now. We are at a point where we are competing at the highest level with the least resources. So you can imagine what something like copyright royalties could do once we start injecting that into the creative sector and saying to the creatives, you now have a bit more money to invest in your craft. So for me, it's a golden opportunity that as a country we really need to see it as that and not see it as a hindrance to business or 100%. You know, this new legislation that's you know, here to ruffle feathers. I think we really have to embrace it.
Yeah, and you know, again, I want to support the statement that you just said. These workshops come at a critical time now, where these creators need them now more than ever, but also with the shift that we have seen, and perhaps for the viewer to appreciate. I think we are all awake to some of the, even though not so many artists that we have seen from Eswatini who have broken out to the world, whose music entered charts even outside of Eswatini and really competed amongst really amazing songs from around the world. And a couple of years later, they are here looking like regulars, like some of us, and it should pain us. And I suppose, you know, that artist that doesn't have a legal team or a team that is backing them up, you know, why is this movement important for them now more than ever?
So that's one of the benefits for any creator who decides to register and becomes a member of Eswakos. So our mandate goes beyond just collecting royalties on their behalf. Our mandate goes into representing them, and part of our mandate is also to educate them, as you have referred to the workshops that we'll be doing over the next coming weeks, and also to give them advice. Of course, we can never replace a legal team. Any business, any artist needs a legal team, but we can stand in the gap to advise. And some of the artists that are members of Eswakos, they do call us regularly to consult on various contracts, whether it's performance contracts, some on recording contracts that they get offered. So when you join Eswakos, you join a network, you join a family, you join a support team that can help you go a step further than what you would alone as an independent artist.
Yeah, let's talk to that poet, and let me quote my hometown. That poet in Hlangano, that designer in Sitegi, that filmmaker here in Gaho, we see a lot of them emerging this side. What knowledge are they not even knowledge, because they will get knowledge, that's for sure. What practical tools are they living with, just beyond the knowledge itself?
Practical tools that they need to succeed beyond the knowledge. Right. It's the network. You definitely need to be plugged into the network.
Very important.
Locally, we are a small country, and in my experience, I've seen a lot of creatives work a lot in silos. So that's one of the things that we're trying to change, is that we want Eswakos to be a bridge where other artists or other creators can meet other creators and begin to form networks where you can then apply that knowledge, utilize the network. And what we also want to do as Eswakos, we want to bring opportunities to develop the sector where we can be able to fund. You will recall the Honorable Minister of Commerce, Industry and Trade in April announced that there will be a seed capital made available for a development fund. So that development fund is still very much in the works, and what we're looking forward to is giving an opportunity to Eswakos members to apply for those small grants, to inject a bit of capital into what they're doing, to develop, themselves and their craft and so forth.
We've established that Eswakos is the gateway to royalties if you're a creator. Take us through what that pathway actually looks like from signing up to the point now where I'm actually receiving those royalties.
Yeah. So first and foremost, you have to register. You have to become a member. You can do so through either contacting us on our WhatsApp line, 76024199. You can contact us there, and then we'll give you the information on the next steps.
Register one?
Yeah, you have to register. That's first and foremost. And when you register, you don't only register yourself as an artist or as a creator, you also register your works. You have to give us a list of all the works you've been a contributor in. And then part of that is a process within itself, because you also have to come then with the contracts and the agreements with the other co-authors or co-creators to say, Sfiso and I, we made the song, and we agreed that we're going to split the revenue or the royalties 50-50 and so forth. So that all forms part of the registration. After you register, and this is very important for artists to capture and to implement, you have to promote your work, because Eswakos collects on the basis of usage. You can register to be a member, you can notify us and register all your works, but if you don't do the job of promoting your work in the market and ensuring that your work is used, played on radio, played on TV, played in the supermarkets, played at events, then you'd be doing yourself a disservice, because you have to make sure that you get used. So you get used, or you get exploited, or you get played, however you'd want to put it. And then our job, that's where we step in, we collect your royalties, and we come and we pay whatever dividends are due to you. Of course, I would want to add, royalties are not an instantaneous thing. Royalties usually lag by a year. So the way Eswakos works is that we'll be paying out royalties, for example, this year for money earned last year. Because we have a process of our own where we collect the licenses, we collect the usage data, but we still then have to use certain formulas and calculations to determine that of this revenue that we collected in 2025, who are we going to pay in 2026?
All right, just making sure that I got that right, and perhaps some things you want to repeat for the appreciation of the viewer. So the first step, that is the royalties pathways. You register yourself, you register your work, your works, as he coins it, and then you have to promote your work. He emphasizes that you want to be intentional with promoting your work, because he says collection is dependent on usage of your works, right? And then he also emphasizes that it's not an instantaneous thing. Everyone should heed and should know that it's not an instantaneous thing. He quotes an example of a 12-month cycle, or let's just call it a year, to be conservative, a year until you get your royalties. But the term royalties can be jargon to a layman. And I want us to really break it down for someone like me who's just a consumer. When we say royalties, could you give us a concrete example? Say a song is played on radio or on our shows here on Eswatini TV. How does that turn into a payout for the creator?
All right, so royalties, we also have to appreciate that there's different types of royalties, right? Let's use the example that you're making. These would be royalties that come from the right of broadcasting. This is the creator of the work giving the right to the broadcaster to broadcast their work, right? And the broadcaster would pay a license fee for the use of all the various works, right? So if I'm just to make a further example, let's say the broadcaster pays 1 million emalangeni as their license fee, right? And how we calculate the payout fee is we then look at the total number of minutes in which the broadcaster used music as a whole. So just to make this example further simpler, let's say the broadcaster in the year used 1 million minutes worth of music, right? That would mean our payout rate is 1 million emalangeni divided by 1 million minutes. So it would be 1 lilangeni per minute. That's the payout rate. So if I'm an artist and then my song collectively within that year played for 1,000 minutes, that means I would be due, or rather my song would have accumulated 1,000 emalangeni for that particular broadcaster, right? And then we apply different formulas where as a society, in as much as we are a non-profit organization, how the society is run is through administration fees which are collected. And the stipulated guiding principle is 30%. So from that 1,000 emalangeni, the society would take 30% for the administrative costs, right? That leaves 700 emalangeni. And then from that, what is left, there's also what we call a deduction for the social and development fund that the minister seeded, because we need to make sure that this fund is sustainable. So we'll be deducting 10% from all collections that will go into that development fund. So that's another 100 emalangeni, that is your contribution to the fund. So your take home would be 600 emalangeni. But maybe to break it down even further, that's what the song made. So now the question comes in. Sfiso and I, when we released the song, what did we agree? If we agreed on a 50-50 split, that only means 300 emalangeni comes to me, and the other 300 emalangeni is due to Sfiso. But let's remember, this is an example that's only involving one user. So we replicate all those calculations across all the different licenses that will be paid by the different users.
You really broke it down and you make it as comprehensible as it can possibly be, even for an elementary school kid. And I suppose my question then becomes stakeholder adherence. Obviously submits itself as key within that whole process, because the onus is on you guys to, of course, lay out the groundwork and do everything that you have just highlighted. But I suppose every other player that is involved in that whole ecosystem needs to be really honest and earnest, and I'm sure there's guiding principles around that. What are we looking like there, and how much work still needs to be done in terms of that stakeholder capacity?
So in terms of stakeholder engagement, over the past 12 months, I'd say we've been rigorously engaging with different users, or rather different businesses or business types that interact with copyright. We've had several meetings with broadcasters. We've had meetings with hotels and the hospitality industry. We've had meetings with events organizers. We've had meetings with some retail outlets, and it's an ongoing process. We can never stop talking to our stakeholders and sensitizing them on the importance. And I think for me, I would want to maybe also highlight the recent development, which is the fund that we got from UNESCO, the International Fund for Cultural Diversity. And through that support, we'll be implementing a project which will cover further stakeholder engagement. So the upcoming workshops are not only for rights holders, it's just that we are advertising to rights holders for them to come. But we also do have workshops lined up in October where we'll be engaging with the business community, different businesses, to further capacitate and sensitize them, and to present as well the music tariffs, which is basically the tool we'll be using to say who should be paying how much. Of course, these tariffs are a document that we've shared and consulted with many businesses, just to ensure that we are also not creating something that is abstract of what the situation is on the ground in terms of our local economy.
It's important.
So we have those tariffs, and this is what we'll be basing our license fees on when we say you should pay a license to compensate the artist. That will be based on that. So we'll be having those engagements throughout October, just to wrap up the process, because like I said, we've done a lot of consultations since last year, November. So like I mentioned, there's also the workshops for the rights holders, which is for us the ones that we're really trying to amplify the most, because it starts with the rights holder. We want the rights holder to understand copyright. We want the rights holder to know what their creation is worth and how they could get paid from it. And we're thankful for the support UNESCO has given us through this project, reinforcing Eswatini, reinforcing copyrights in Eswatini's creative and cultural industries.
The International Fund for Cultural Diversity, you called it. I do want us to look at the bigger picture. We have just under 2 minutes of talk time now left. And we'll call it a long-term vision, 5 to 7 years maybe. What is Iswako striving toward, you know, beyond just protection here at home, exporting this work as a global product? I think that's essential.
The longer term or the broader vision, of course, is to establish a thriving and sustainable creative economy in the country. We want to see the creative sector becoming one of the top contributors towards Eswatini's creative economy as a whole. We want to see the creative sector being one of the biggest employers in terms of employing young people, giving them an opportunity to earn a living consistently through their work. And we want to develop the sector for Eswatini to translate the rich culture, the rich heritage, the rich arts that we already have into an opportunity to make money. That's the longer-term vision, and maybe I'd want to end by inviting all the rights holders to join us. We'll be having workshops over the following weeks. The first one is in Manzini this Saturday at the George Hotel. The following one, we're in Hlangano on Wednesday, the 1st of October at the EWC Auditorium. We're also in Eswatini next Saturday on the 4th of October at the Happy Valley Hotel. And on the 11th of October, that following Saturday, we're in Stegi at the Stegi Hotel. And I really encourage rights holders to RSVP. They can do so by contacting that number that I mentioned, 7602-4199, and we'll send them the registration link. So far, we've already had 220 registrations as of yesterday, so we're already seeing a big response from the different creators, and it's open to all. Music, film, literature, visual arts, performing arts. We welcome everybody to join us.
And I just want to reiterate here, you know, as you invite them on your call to action, you do say Manzini will be at the George Hotel?
This Saturday, yes.
Yes, and Hlangano will follow the auditorium. Is it the youth auditorium?
It's the Eswatini Water Services Corporation.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they're right next to ShopRite and Box.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And then Eswatini, Happy Valley.
Happy Valley on the 4th of October.
Stegi Hotel.
Yes, on the 11th of October.
Meli, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
SWACO's Director, Meli Hlanze, Copyright and Royalties in Eswatini. Here, they are leading the transformation as well as the necessary charge that we want to see in Eswatini for creative works. Let's go for an ad break. We have our English bulletin coming up shortly.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.za. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.sz.
All right, you are still watching Kusile Breakfast Show. We look into our English news now, where His Majesty King Mswati III, who has attended the official opening of the 80th United Nations General Assembly. It is held at the United Nations headquarters in New York. It is a high-level meeting that was officially opened by the United Nations Secretary General, His Excellency Antonio Guterres, who urged world leaders never to give up the fight for peace, dignity, and justice for all.
His Majesty King Mswati III has attended the 80th United Nations General Assembly, which is held at the United Nations headquarters in New York. The Kingdom of Eswatini is amongst the 193 member countries of the United Nations since 1968, shortly after gaining independence. World leaders gathered to engage under the theme, Better Together, 80 years and more for peace, development, and human rights. World leaders from the different parts of the world arrived in their numbers to partake in this year's high-level meeting. His Majesty the King and Ngwenyama was accompanied by the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Senator Polile Shakantu, and the Eswatini Ambassador to the United Nations, His Excellency Tammy Dlamini. The General Assembly was officially opened by the Secretary General, His Excellency Antonio Guterres, who highlighted that UN peacekeeping can continue to serve as one of the world's most effective tools for international peace and security. Guterres also encouraged global leaders to choose the right future, and they must be able to overcome any challenges that they may come across.
Together, let us choose to invest in a United Nations that adapts, innovates, and is empowered to deliver for people everywhere. Excellencies, my overriding message comes down to this. Now is the time to choose. It's not enough to know what the right choices are. I urge you to make them. I grew up in a world where choices were few. I was raised in the darkness of dictatorship, where fear silenced voices and hope was nearly crushed. Yet, even the bleakest hours, especially then, I discovered a truth that has never left me. Power does not reside in the hands of those who dominate or divide. Real power resides from people, from our shared resolve to uphold dignity, to defend equality, to believe fiercely in our common humanity and the potential of every human being. I learned early to persevere, to speak out, to refuse to surrender, no matter the challenge, no matter the obstacle, no matter the hour. We must and we will overcome. Because in a world of many choices, there is one choice we must never make, the choice to give up. We must never give up. That is my promise to you, for peace, for dignity, for justice, for humanity, for the world we know is possible when we work as one. I will never, ever give up. Thank you.
The President of the United States of America, His Excellency Donald Trump, delivering his speech, highlighted that the war in Gaza must be stopped immediately. His Excellency also encouraged the protection of nations, preserving their future and culture.
Every leader in this beautiful hall today represents a rich culture, a noble history, and a proud heritage that makes each nation majestic and unique, unlike anything else in human history or any other place on the face of the earth. Each of us inherits the deeds and the myths, the triumphs, the legacies of our own heroes and founders who so bravely showed us the way. Our ancestors gave everything for homelands that they defended with pride, with sweat, with blood, with life, and with death. Now the righteous task of protecting the nations that they built belongs to each and every one of us. So together, let us uphold our sacred duty to our people and to our citizens. Let us protect their borders, ensure their safety, preserve their cultures, treasure, and traditions, and fight, fight, fight for their precious dreams and their cherished freedoms. And in friendship and really a beautiful vision, let us all work together to build a bright, beautiful planet, a planet that we all share, a planet of peace and a world that is richer, better, and more beautiful than ever before. That can happen.
As the United Nations General Assembly continued, world leaders were called upon to help bring peace for the people of Israel and Palestine, and as well as the world at large. Issues that were discussed during the assembly include strengthening the United Nations peace and security, sustainable development, climate change, human rights, global health, artificial intelligence, AI, food crisis, and gender equality. Issues that were discussed during the assembly include strengthening the United Nations peace and security, sustainable development, climate change, human rights, global health, artificial intelligence, AI, food crisis, and gender equality. World leaders, including His Majesty the King and Ingwenyama, will make their statements during this assembly. On the news, I'm Polile Mazia with Zweli Masugu and Mkolisi Mavimbela in New York.
The Nhlambeni Constituency Council has raised concerns over the eligibility of all the Army recruitment winners, questioning their ties to the area. The Army Recruitment Committee, however, has maintained that the vetting process is carried out by the local Constitution Council as well as the Chiefs' inner councils.
The Army recruitment exercise at Nhlambeni Nkundla started off successfully on Tuesday morning, with the winners saying this is a life-changing opportunity.
Ngacala kade ngidilongiselela bengisolonke kade ngikulinzile kuloya mnyaka loya lebegcina khona kuthathwa kwahlukwana ngangikhona ngena ngekhathi ngigijime bengihlula ama exercise most especially the press up.
However, Nkundla Council members say some of the successful candidates may not have strong ties to the area, arguing that the opportunity should benefit young people born and rooted within the constituency.
Labanye basemaphalaleni, labanye basembelebeleni, labanye bahlula nokukhomba nje ukuthi ngibani makhelwane wakho kulabanye labaphumelele. So buhlunguleke lesesinabo senkundla lokho lesicabanga ukuthi awusitakuya kubantu abadzala labasibukele endzabeni tembutho. Akusikahle nje ukuthi umuntu angafike awine ngokuthi uqashe kuphi lapho so ungena ngalokuthi ngicashe lapha mina.
Umuntu udenge umuntu oqasha la mhlambeni ngoba kuvute nemisebenzi socela indlu yemuntu ukuthi amana ahlale khona. Bese ke lowo muntu loyo songenela la kana kusiyo wala. Ngekubuka kwethu bekungaba kahle lokuthi umuntu lo kanjalo phela nakufike leso sikhathi naye akahamba enkundleni yakuwo.
The Army Recruitment Committee member Socha Dlamini says the vetting process was carried out by the local Ingundla Council and the chiefs in a council, and the exercise has already been concluded.
Sibekile ekuqaleni ukuthi saze sedlule kule stage se-identification bagijima abanivana wathi akasiwa la akusevakali phela ngoba nakangagijima sithe wala.
The Army Recruitment Committee has called on Ingundla councils to be considerate when vetting candidates, saying a chief code is not the only measure of belonging to a community. Reporting Samgalsiwe Koza Hlambeni.
The Army recruitment exercise at Mfongwaneni constituency has been hailed a success. Among the highlights was Manzini Central High School learner who came first in the women's category. The Army Recruitment Committee applauded the Constituency Council as well as the participants for displaying a high level of discipline.
The Mfongwaneni Ingundla Army Recruitment Exercise on Tuesday afternoon drew scores of determined young people competing for an opportunity to serve in the National Army. The challenge this year was to run 3.2 kilometers. A standout moment came in the women's category, where a learner from Manzini Central High School outperformed the rest, securing first position.
Ngijabule kakhulu ithuba leli ngoba bekumnyaka wami icala lena ngigijima umbuso wamasotsha hayi ngale race ke hayi bekasinzima ngaka ngoba kulamalanga silungiselela imvubu emarathon.
Ngiyabonga nje lethuba ngitholile namhla ukuthi kube luhle kimi ikhasi lasemndenini. Ngitsanza ukuthi ngiyabonga kakhulu kimi bisho impumelelo ekhaya umndenini hlobo nebangani.
Community leaders and the Ingundla Council welcomed the recruitment drive, saying it also empowers the youth.
Ngiyakholwa futhi ukuthi abantu abasha lakonke take advantage inzaba ukuthi basebenza equality khona nasenkundleni bakwazi ukuthi baqala imisebenzi abangathi nje ngoba sebehlulekele omuhla nje umsebenzi lomuhla abangasakhona bese sebalahlekelwa lithemba.
Bagijimile banivana futhi kule speed lesilebe ngisibonile bebangakafanele bengibakhobosa kulokugijima kwabo ngithi hayi kangiboni ukuthi akwendeka kanje.
Kubebede nemsindo nabo bandlancane bami benkundla yami yasemthongwaneni kule mphakathi lemine cishe umsebenzi bawende kahle kakhulu.
The Army recruitment officials say the exercise ran smoothly and further outlined conditions that could disqualify successful recruits from taking up their places.
Ngaphandle kwaloko kusuthi ethwale uma kungabe kungendeka ukhaze ukuthi kulesikhashanyana lesi nje soyaboshwa. So sengingeni ngoba ngakhathi nje sikufuna sesingasakufoli. Noma ngabe khanze siqala lo taluwina kepha ngakhathi usevalo lethina sesikufuna okhanze sivele sovele uyasala.
The National Army recruitment exercise is expected to run until November. Reporting Samgalsiwe Koza Mfongwaneni.
Agroecology, an approach that integrates ecological principles into agriculture to promote environmentally friendly, resilient as well as sustainable food systems, is raising a key solution for sustainable farming. Pelham Association Eswatini is hosting the first ever sustainable agriculture in Indaba.
In Eswatini, about 70% of the country populace lives in rural areas where agriculture is the main livelihood activity. Despite the sector being one of the strategic focus areas through which the region can foster economic growth, alleviate poverty, and eradicate inequality, the sector's performance compared to its potential has been below average in recent years. We note that despite the growing recognition of agroecology in food systems, livelihoods and climate adaptation for agrarian communities and in economies in Africa, agroecology remains less supported by public policies and under-financed. It cannot be overemphasized why then this event recognizes and discusses the potential of agroecology. in improving the livelihoods of smallholder farmers and promoting the sustainability and resilience of their farming systems through the application of ecological land use practices.
Pelham Regional Board Chairperson says stakeholders should work together to increase knowledge of agroecology.
I call upon all stakeholders, governments, researchers, civil society, and our international partners to join hands with us in scaling agroecology. Let us invest in research that values indigenous knowledge.
Gabriela from Sahi Foundation shares the importance of agroecology in food sustainability.
Agroecology, as said before, is not simply a set of farming methods or techniques. It is a holistic approach that combines science, indigenous wisdom, and social values. It encourages us to work with nature, not against it.
The World Bank views agroecology as a critical approach to transforming food systems by promoting resilience, boosting productivity, and reducing greenhouse gas emissions through sustainable, climate-smart agriculture. Reporting, Nelson Dlangamandla, Vuminkosi Nzinisa, Manzini.
The Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade warns the public about false grant opportunities that are circulating online. The ministry clarifies that no grant opportunities targeting entrepreneurs, miners or farmers have been issued at this time. In a press statement, the Principal Secretary, Melusi Masuku, says there is a misleading message claiming to offer such grants. Purportedly from the ministry, he states that this message did not originate from official ministry channels. The PS says the page disseminating this information, labeled Ministry of Commerce Eswatini, is not an authentic or official representation of the ministry. He says the correct name is the Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade, and then he urges the public to verify information through official ministry platforms. He further states that legitimate announcements will only be shared via the ministry's verified website as well as its social media accounts. The public has been urged to report suspicious communication to the ministry for clarification. On another one, His Majesty King Mswati III has announced about 85 million emalangeni in catalytic funding from the government of Eswatini to the African Strategic Investment Alliance. This fund is to enable the structure to support small business, to support the youth, as well as to support women in the kingdom. The announcement was delivered on His Majesty's behalf by the Minister of Finance, Honorable Neil Reichenberg, during the launch of the Africa Strategic Investment Alliance. This is a platform in New York with its partners. His Majesty further pledged to engage African traditional leaders and heads of state and government under the African Union to join in supporting this continental initiative. Well, the Africa Strategic Investment Alliance was born in order to make a difference in the financial landscape by creating a special purpose vehicle to ring-fence financing to address the huge SME financing gap of over 5 billion emalangeni per year across the African continent. Moving along, Carlos Nambombe, a Mozambican national who has been found guilty on 12 counts of child rape, has been sentenced to 48 years in prison. The judgment was handed down by Judge Mbuto Mamba.
The children were allegedly raped in areas around Babani, with one of the survivors being only 11 years old. The suspect was arrested by police in 2012, and the cases are alleged to have been committed since that year. He has been in custody since his arrest. Judge Mbuto Mamba agreed with the prosecution that each case has aggravating factors. These factors include that the suspect threatened the complainant with a knife before sexually violating them, while others were raped multiple times. The judge notes that child rape is a grave crime and reflects how some men abuse their power. The judge emphasized that children should be able to be safe on the streets and that children must be able to grow up in a safe environment where their constitutional rights are respected. Judge Mamba ordered that each case, the suspect will receive 12 years. Cases 1 to 3 will run concurrently. Cases 4 to 6 will also run concurrently. Also cases 7 to 9. Carlos Nyambombe will also serve cases 10, 16 and 18 concurrently. Nyambombe's criminal acts date back to 2012. During mitigation, Nyambombe told the court that he is 51 years old, married, and has 3 children, 2 of whom he lives with him. He stated that his wife left, leaving the children alone in Mozambique. Nyambombe told the court that he is a sick person. He also pleaded not guilty to the charges. Acting Director of Public Prosecutions, Lomvula Hlope, urged the court to hand down a heavy sentence. She told the judge that the sentence should serve as a deterrent to others who might commit similar crimes and to ensure the public feels safety and relief. Hlope also told the court that cases of child rape are serious and have caused outrage. She asked the judge to impose a long sentence so that Nyambombe, even when released, cannot abuse women or children again. The judge apologized to Nyambombe for the delay in the case. Judge Mamba says this was due to factors including that he was presiding over other matters in the Supreme Court and SADC Tribunal. Reporting Fortune Dlangamandla, High Court.
International news now. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. placed the Philippines Disaster Response Agency on full alert and ordered the mobilization of all government bodies as Super Typhoon Ragasa approached the northern region, triggering storm warnings across East and Southeast Asia with sustained winds of 215 kilometers per hour and gusts reaching up to 295 kilometers per hour. Ragasa made landfall on Calayan Island and Cagayan province, prompting the state weather agency to warn of potential storm surges exceeding 3 meters.
The Philippine Coast Guard helped residents in northern regions move out of their homes during Super Typhoon Ragasa, which authorities have described as bringing life-threatening conditions. More than 10,000 people in all were evacuated and schools and government offices closed in the region. Ragasa, named for a Tagalog word meaning sudden rapid movement, battered the northern Philippines and southern Taiwan early on Tuesday and was headed on a westward course, forcing the evacuation of 6,000 people in southern regions of Taiwan. With hurricane-force winds of up to 220 kilometers per hour, Ragasa is expected to be the region's most intense storm of the year and one of the heaviest since Typhoon Mangkhut in 2018. After the Philippines, it is headed for Hong Kong and southern China. The Hong Kong Meteorological Observatory has issued its third highest signal, number 8, with higher warnings expected to be issued later on Tuesday or early Wednesday. The observatory said waters in some parts of the territory could rise by 4 to 5 meters, bringing a risk of flooding. The city's international airport suspended operations for 36 hours from Tuesday evening, leaving travellers hoping they could get their flights out on time. Hong Kongers, well used to typhoons, had started stocking up on provisions well in advance of the storm.
I bought a bit more than usual. I'm not too nervous. You shouldn't buy too much. The whole wet market was like Lunar New Year yesterday. It was packed. There are fewer people now.
In neighbouring Shenzhen on the Chinese mainland, there were similar last-minute purchases, while authorities prepared to evacuate 400,000 residents from low-lying and coastal areas. A total of 10 cities in Guangdong province ordered schools and businesses to shut during the typhoon.
While French President Emmanuel Macron was delivering his speech at the United Nations summit recognizing the Palestinian state, Israel chose not to attend, leaving its chair in the hemicycle empty and boycotting the announcement.
During Emmanuel Macron's speech recognizing Palestinian statehood at the United Nations, there was one chair left conspicuously empty. Israel boycotted the announcement and has strongly criticized the move, saying France's decision rewards Hamas.
Many countries want to take action and to feel that they are doing something. They cannot speak with Hamas. With all due respect to President Macron, the Elysee cannot give instructions to Hamas. So it's easier to come here, make statements, take pictures. They feel they are doing something, but they are not promoting peace. On the contrary, They are supporting terrorism.
The Israeli ambassador to the United Nations says Israel will take action in response. Some in the international community worry this could mean annexing parts of the occupied West Bank. US President Donald Trump has backed Israel's stance on Palestinian statehood.
He feels this does not do anything to release the hostages, which is the primary goal right now in Gaza, does nothing to end this conflict and bring this war to a close. And frankly, he believes it's a reward to Hamas. So he believes these decisions are just more talk and not enough action from some of our friends and allies.
But some countries applauded the move, including Indonesia and Saudi Arabia, who, with France, organized Monday's summit at the United Nations in support of a two-state solution.
We thank Emmanuel Macron for recognizing the state of Palestine. France and all countries calling for peace must follow up on the implementation of the outcomes of this conference to put an end to the war in Gaza and stop all unilateral measures that threaten Palestinian sovereignty, to work on ending the conflict in the region and establishing a Palestinian independent state.
Several other countries followed France's example on Monday, also recognizing Palestinian statehood, including Belgium, Luxembourg, and Malta.
Russian authorities have subjected civilian detainees in Ukrainian areas as it occupies to widespread and systemic torture, including sexual violence, the United Nations said on Tuesday. A United Nations Rights Office report concluded that Russia has subjected Ukrainian civil detainees to consistent patterns of serious violations. This is of international law since its full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022.
It's a stark condemnation of Russia's worsening human rights record. UN rapporteur Mariana Kadzarova's report paints a chilling picture of increased repression in Russia and the revival of Soviet-era tactics to silence dissent, using such notorious Soviet tools as coercive psychiatry. The use of the treatment against opposition has skyrocketed from just 5 cases per year before the war to an average of 23 annually since 2022.
Russia is now run through a state-sponsored system of fear and punishment. Human rights defenders, journalists, lawyers, and political opponents are systematically prosecuted, tortured, and silenced.
The report claims the turning point was the start of the Russia-Ukraine war in February 2022. Since then, Moscow has intensified its crackdown on government critics, using a brutal playbook of repression, including torture, criminal prosecution, and intimidation to silence opposition to the war. Kadzarova accuses the Russian law enforcement and military of using widespread torture. She cites examples of health professionals instructing prison staff on how to use electric shocks to inflict pain on Ukrainian detainees. The UN expert also points to Russia dismantling its institutional independence, bringing the judiciary, legislature, and law enforcement under direct political control. These public institutions have been weaponized, effectively becoming tools of repression and war. Russia has dismissed these accusations as unfounded Western smears, accusing foreign intelligence agencies of trying to destabilize the country. But with over 20,000 people arrested for their anti-war views, the report concludes that laws on foreign agents and fake news are being used to crush dissent and brand critics as enemies of the state.
Well, Donald Trump has advised pregnant women to avoid taking Tylenol or paracetamol, claiming that it can lead to autism. The statement contradicts the consensus among medical professionals who maintain that there is not enough evidence to support any connection between the medication as well as the developmental disorder. Well, autism currently affects approximately 1 in 31 children in the United States, but experts emphasize that it results from a complicated interplay of genetic as well as environmental influences rather than a single cause.
In a move that's shocked many medical experts, US President Donald Trump issued new guidelines. advising pregnant women to avoid Tylenol, also known as paracetamol or acetaminophen, asserting that it causes autism.
I just recommend strongly that you don't use Tylenol unless it's absolutely necessary. But this is a very strong recommendation, maybe stronger from me than from the group because they're waiting for certain studies. I just want to say it like it is. Don't take Tylenol. Don't take it.
The decision was backed by the US Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy, who's known for his controversial medical views, including an anti-vaccine stance. Trump ordered Kennedy to determine the cause of autism, which is a complex condition that has been researched for decades, within 5 months. After re-evaluating existing studies, the US administration now claims that Tylenol use during pregnancy is to blame. But many doctors are skeptical, saying it's difficult to prove a causal link from the data, as any correlation between Tylenol or acetaminophen use in pregnancy and autism could be caused by the condition prompting a woman to take the medication.
There are so many reasons people take acetaminophen in pregnancy. So is it the acetaminophen, or was it the fact that the patient developed a fever from something else that led to the problem? Is it the fact that the patient has potentially maybe an autoimmune disorder that causes pain, and so they take acetaminophen for pain?
Guidelines already exist advising women to take Tylenol sparingly during pregnancy. Following Trump's announcement, there are concerns that pregnant women could now suffer potentially dangerous fevers unnecessarily.
We close the curtain of our English news with our sports stories. Royal Leopard head coach Edwin Matsabula says history has taught them that as a club to never get carried away and think that winning a first leg gives you the advantage ahead of the second leg. Matsabula was speaking during the team's training session at the Somhlolo National Stadium. This is ahead of their second leg against Young Africans in the CAF Confederation Cup this Friday. In other stories, Eswatini Equestrian Federation coach Peter Emmet says the recent presence in the international competitions has boosted the association in being able to collect more medals. Emmet was speaking following the association's performance at the Inter-African Championship competition, where they recorded a gold medal. All right, that's it. Let's go for a net break. We have 2 more interviews that Kusile will be leading after the break with the Eswatini Meat Industries.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.za. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.za.
Kude lesinye isikhathi ngaphandle kwalesi.
Aba research bafunze. Being risky means ukuthi nalokuwa kwayo kulula.
Nathi kufuna sente ukukhiqiza lokusembili.
When you choose your adventures, you do so with an open heart and a desire for the unexpected. You embark on journeys to discover new worlds, full of wonder. You choose a path to awaken your senses, a world to make you look up and realize just how inspiring this life can be. Arrive and awaken your heart. Explore life in ways only thought possible in your dreams. Discover just how far you go to expand your understanding of life's greatest mysteries. There's just one place on this planet with so much to offer. Now is the time for you to have the royal experience.
Right, welcome back. You're still watching Kusile Breakfast Show right here on Eswatini TV. And this morning, innovation meets flavor. I'm joined now by Mbiveni Meat Industries Marketing Manager Ntsiki Dlamini here to share more on an exciting new range of products, the vision, and let us in on some fantastic deals that they have. A very good morning to you, Ntsiki, and thank you so much for coming through. I understand EMI is launching new products. Care to tell us more about those?
Siyabonga kuba khona ehlelweni namhlanje othile sivusele kubabukeli ekhaya sikhulumisa yona ke indzaba yema products lamasha leseswalonchile to the market through our retail shops and our business partners la khona ku channel yaka retail. Siyati ke ukuthi Imbiva has always been known for quality products that are affordable. Kade nje besiya lapha kumathapha fastelweni siyothenga livosi. So sihleti sing Mbiveni sabuka a strategy that will keep us sadiwa ngaleyo ndlela ukuthi we are providing quality meat that is affordable. So we looked at customer centric innovations. Saphenze sabuka ukuthi how can we expand the consumer choice. Sabuka ukuthi how do we stay relevant and competitive. So which is why we came up with, let us introduce new products in the market that speak to our economy, that speaks to ukuthi sihola kangakanani simaswati. So which is why namhla sitokhulumisa indzaba these new products. Siyati ukuthi emaswati they are still looking for quality, they are still looking for convenience, they are still looking for affordability, where now EMI is coming in. We are giving a solution to the nation of Eswatini. Sithi onke emaswati akadle inyama lebhojoliwe, inyama lephephile ngamanani laphasi.
Imbiva, you're known for livosi, mathambo, everything for everyone, but these products ngabe nje yini specifically lekhona nyalo?
Okay, kulama products efulamasha we have a Russian nai lefolakale titolo tefu. This Russian is called Bajada Russian. Let us use magama la Swati because we want the consumer to connect with the product. And also we want to differentiate ourselves from the imported products la kona in the country and also the competition la kona in the country. So this is Bajada Russian. It is made from raw material isitfolago. Siyati ke ukuthi kulamalanga sishaywe i-FMD saphinze futhi sashaywa i-bird flu loku swine flu for our MDN raw material. So sisiteke let us not look at what is happening externally. Asisebenzise loku lesinako and produce a local product lekhulumisa liphakethe lefusmaswati. So this is Bajada Russian leya iyatfolakala esitolo sefu sasembiveni totonke letikhona toting 8 sikhona sisi-charge nga 37 emalangeni nje kuphela. And then kunanayi ke lena ke naniyibuka masatla mahle inekhala lehlukile. A lot of people when they come to our shops they ask themselves ukuthi how ngabe is it pork or is it what? This is chicken. You can easily consume it etitolo tefu iyatfolakala nga 36 emalangeni nje kuphela. So it is safe to consume. It is chicken product. And then bese ke siba na lo mashelela pholoni lo mashelela njengeligama la nje uyashelela wedlala emphinjeni kamnanzi so uyatfolakala na etitolo tetfu letikhona tasembiveni nga32 emalangeni nje kuphela so besides ke ukuthi siyatfolakala etitolo tetfu we have business partners lafana nabo Ruchi siyatfolakala lama products etfu lawa especially the wholesalers and the retail shops so siyatfolakala outlets lawo.
It's giving combo, eh?
Yes.
Breakfast
yes, we actually have breakfast back to school combo.
Okay, we'll get to that. But the product range let's introduce nyalo. Engabe nje ihambe lana njani ne vision yongwenyama when it comes to business Eswatini, even das Eswatini in fact kwanana nje ni ngapani.
Okay, a first world nation is a nation that has access to safe and quality products. Yes. And also, nasukulumisa first world, sikulumisa a country where we can rely fully on our local resources. So, which is where EMI now comes in to say, let us reduce the amount of products that is imported into the country. Let us consume and fully rely on ourselves. So we are supporting the Ingwenyama's vision through that. And also, since we are Africa's leading integrated business partner, which is our company's vision. So with this product, we have taken a proactive leadership to say, besides importer, let us have our own thing that is produced locally. Let us consume locally.
Right. Usiteni nemakhombo tikola tivuliwe legenge seyivele iyavukela engabe families ayakhona yini ukuthola something that that's fitting for cishe yonke budget.
Yes, we have structured a combo, back to school combo. So we have a back to school combo, 123 emalangeni. Lange katigile combo uyamfola lo mashelela lo mkhulu lomkhulu ebese sowufola nana ilusu ration leng 1 kg bese ke kuba ne choice burger leng 1 kg kanye nema Viennas 500 grams so kuna leyo combo leyo phinze futhi kuna lenye leng 215 emalangeni leyo ke nayo iyatfolakala etitolo tetfu yona ke itelo polon but in a ham lange khatsikiyo and then onke lama products lamanye akhona otherwise sithi nje ema customer ethu akangena esitolo sasembiveni afole the products at an affordable price.
At an affordable price. Some specials laptop akhona for the rest of the month noma?
Yes, the back to school combo is running till the end of the month and also we have another month end special that is currently running in our shops.
Okay. For the month end specials, what can clients expect?
It's affordability. We are providing goods that are affordable. Sititenje let asehlise phela khoda sitokona kuthengela month end groceries ethu. We are coming up with combos lafana nekokuthi ngiyabekisa nje spend 600 emalangeni on a combo letaglasta inyanga yonke. So MBVN is all about affordability.
So lama products ayatholakala already.
Yes.
Right. Engabe le reception so far nje as much as Masha you just launched but so far my customer, how are they enjoying the combo?
Actually, my customer, if they're enjoying bajata kakhulu, I think bathanza leli gama because it's bajata. And actually, now we look at Russian ifule, it actually has that in it because as much as it's but it does have that effect ya bajata. So I thanza kakhulu my customer ifu the product lena ya bajata lena njengoba ngishito ukuthi basesene kubuta ukuthi ngabe is it pork or is it chicken, so basengaka understand kahle. So we are here to educate and say this is chicken, you can easily consume it.
I understand ni tabeni ne road show esifunzeni saseshiselweni sithanza kakhulu ngumlingani wami la hlangano specific. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, we are inviting my customer efula khona eshiselweni siyadike ukuthi isitolo seshiselweni ngilesa senhlangano kuphela. So we are inviting everyone lokhona eShiselweni to come through for our roadshows on Saturday. This coming Saturday, Sitsinje, we are bringing our services closer to the people of Eswatini. Sitabe sinawo nalama products lawa lesikhuluma ngawo namhla sitabe siwatastisa, and then we will make them affordable in our shops. Sitabe sine special roadshow, and then also sithi we are giving back to the communities ngekuthi siphathe timadlana lesishiya kuona eMaswati Sitsinje. Besides the products, take this and go and buy whatever it is that you want to buy. So siyawa invite ema customer efukuthi akasonzele. We are having fun. Ukhona Msandika Baba, ukhona DJ Prones. We are just going to be having so much fun.
Because I will come to you guys. Obviously, you are, promoting the product. Lena, you are saying it's good for my taste buds.
Yes.
But what are the activities?
Yes, we do have my activities lafana nabo nataketa, where we ask questions and you answer correctly. Then you get yourself a hamper longa kona kamba nayo ekaya. Usually our prices guba 3 of our items plus money on top of it. Yes, so si dlala games. If you win yourself a prize, then you can go back home. Unemshibo pinzuna cash kicking.
From Hlangano ngabe khona lokunyeleni kuhlelile ukuthi kumbe we're going to have a road shows kuletinye tindzawo elive.
Yes, well, our roadshows have been structured ukuthi sihambe lapho khona kunaleti tolo defu because we want to promote the brand kakhulu. Maybe in the long run we will look into going into other places lapho khona sisete titolo because solo sithi onke eMaswati they must eat lenyama yefu yasembiveni. So kwanyalo sisahamba la kunaleti tolo defu khona, but we are looking into a strategy where now we touch towns lapho khona sitawufisa ngalinye ilanga ukuthi sivule titolo. So eMaswati they can still stay tuned and bagadze ukuthi ngabe kuleli viki singakuphi ngabe kuleli viki singakuphi.
Sibonga khona ngoba singuziki Dlamini lo ukete market Mbiveni Meat Industries asitshela nje nge product range iyabo lensha lese biology, so be sure to pay them a visit. We'll catch a break after that. Kusile Breakfast Show continues.
Have you ever noticed that some people love risk? Investing in high-wire ventures that pay off big. While others are after something low risk, perhaps a smaller reward too, but predictable. Something that runs like clockwork, you might say. Which brings me to the bonds. In the highly complex and interconnected financial world, bonds play a crucial role. They're part of what makes the global economy tick. The best way to think about bonds is they're actually a kind of loan, money lent by people like you and me so someone else can spend it or invest it. When that someone is the government, the money they borrow can fund all sorts of things, from schools and hospitals to space travel and new technologies. Hopefully, investments that will help the economy grow and create more jobs and greater tax revenue. So what's in it for me? In return, they promise to pay me back after a fixed period, but with interest. And there are a lot of bonds out there. If you add up all the bonds and everything else governments owe around the world, you get to a pretty big number. The IMF estimates $100 trillion. That's with a T. But the thing about bonds is that anyone can buy them. So let's try one out. I'm going to get a hypothetical 5-year government bond for $100. Let's start the clock. Every year that $100 is invested, it's earning interest, about 4% every year, right on time. Longer-term bonds of 10, 20, or 30 years often pay investors even more. So, while we wait, why are government bonds often seen as a safe investment? Well, because they're backed by the government's taxes. and so they're considered more likely to be paid on time. The trade-off is that they generally offer lower interest rates than bonds issued by corporations. Corporate bonds and investments often leave more room for risk, but offer bigger potential payouts too. 5 years later, I get back my investment with interest. Okay, not bad. If things go right, that is. Sometimes we get a wrench in the system. If the money is poorly spent or a country gets hit by a natural disaster, for instance, the government could then have trouble paying me back. But when the system is running well, public bonds can be a predictable win-win. Governments get money to build prosperity, and investors get paid back on time, with interest, a tidy sum for their patience, time after time.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.za. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.sz.
Ngiphinze ngomukele ngolomuhle solo siyitsingitsa tindzaba tembiva lana ke nyalo ke lesisikwatiko ukuthi sebane sitolo lesisha sehalal lekuyona conversation lesitawuba nayo nyalo ngaso lesitolo se halal, the new halal shop. Sengina Zawad Juma lo buke sona lesitolo noma ke supervisor tasitshela kabani ukuthi yini lo kwenda lesitolo ukuthi sihluke nguvusele Zawad ngomukele ehlelweni.
Sawubona unjani?
Ngiyaphila nami. Sesiyeva ukuthi ngathi sekune halal certification laphana lapha nje ngicela usichazele kabantu ukuthi sesisho kuthini yalona sithi imbiva meat seyi halal certified.
No, Mbiva Meats has been halal certified for a long time. It's just nyalo sesiyakhona lokuthi singene lapha esitolo sibone ukuthi I think ngifuna iramp or this I want this, I want that. It has been halal for a long time, but nyalo sesinesitolo khona lapha kuMatsapa, and the only shop that we have halal ikuMatsapa. And I want to explain what halal means. Halal means permissible and lawful to the Islamic community. So what we try, and we try to make sure ukuthi lenyama sihlaba kahle lawfully to be consumed by the Muslims. So that's why now we've been doing it, but nyalo sesivele lesitolo, and we are urging ukuthi bete batawubona kwanabo ukuthi what do they want there.
Kunona kule kuthiwa isana certifications. Sicela nje usichazele kabanti ngalokho.
Oh yes, Mbiveni wa partnerisha na sana long time ago. So ngala Mbiveni kune 2 sections whereby ngala kusana satisfied kunelibonza leli separator from the factory to the process. So from the factory side, sana was certified ukuthi bangahlaba halal. I mean inyama yakhona iba 100% halal. So that is where bantu baba ne confusion ukuthi why ngithenga ingulube lana, and then because ingulube in Islam we can't slaughter the same place where the meat that is permissible to us slaughterishe khona. So it's different. Ngala factory we only slaughter beef and meats that are lawful halal to Muslims. So kunelibonza lelikhona lelikhulu nje that differentiates. So sana was certified ngala factory. So konke lesihlabako vele ngala factory ku halal. So it's good for the Muslims to consume.
Ndacela usi educated kancane. I think this is out of curiosity just on my part. Kuthi nasihlaba whatever is permissible to the halal community. Kuhluke ngani nang ngihlaba kuthi kutadliwa taba halal certified versus nang ngihlaba just for the regular person.
Okay. For a meat to be halal, one, where you slaughter, there mustn't be forbidden animals.
Okay.
La slaughterisha corner, i.e. pork, dogs, and the likes. They are those animals that just at all. Number two, where the animal you want to it should be healthy. So funeka check where in MBV is a check. And then another thing, it should be the animal it should be spiritually it should be spiritually purified. Let me put it like that. So for if this are not met, that means that the animal ayikahlatshwa halal. So we have Bantu Bagits, like Muslim brothers, who make sure that they slaughter halal and kunjani lapho bakhona khona. Nami nje ngifike nyalo but ngathi mangifika ngakhanza vele ukuthi no, they make sure that everything they do it is halal. The standards are met. And when Sana comes and audit, because it just comes anytime, audits ukhanza vele benda logo, because if there's no animal that can be slaughtered lengasi healthy. They cannot even slaughter, they can just cancel the certificate. So it's 100% halal. Now I'm being skeptical. Before I started working there, I was like, these guys. I went there twice and I went back and I was, But when I started working there, I was like, oh no, this and they're not even Muslims, the MBV.
Just the inclusion.
They try by all means to include us. I promise you, the standards are high and we are like halal.
Right. Now back to the store. I understand the target market is the Muslim community. Ngabe yini ama products la tholakala konje particular kule store?
For now, we have beef cuts, primary cuts. So we have bochak, botibon. We have beef kahle. I've been trying to see batsembisiwe batawufaka netimboti nabo lamb and then ngivile ukuthi ikhona a process. We're still fixing the road to process. Sisede kwanyalo, but kwanyalo sine beef, anything beef you get it.
Okay. Ngabe khona inema specials le bathola kona bafikile in the store in particular.
Basita basithanza shem basipa 10% ngala ka halal basipa 10% up until month end.
Okay.
So we do have 10% discounts up until month end of some things, but just bas introduce a burger. So a burger yenduang actually.
So it's exclusive to the halal shop.
Yes. So I love the burger. It's so nice. So yeah.
Bengtaw buta nje singabe vele glama products understanding na 10% off.
Yes.
Khona ini deal mhlambe le itholakala ngala lengekho ngala kumbe ngatikhaza sengicumukela ngala.
Ngicela kubeka ngala halal shop which is away from the other meats. Whatever we do, the site is just us.
Okay.
Yes.
Sesinemalanga nasivuliwe, right?
Yes.
Ingabe nje so far a response ye Muslim community inganani?
I'm sad because yathi bayazama bakasempiveni, but our Muslim brothers and sisters, I feel they haven't. That's why I'm here. They need to know ukuthi vele ku halal, because njengoba ngishito nami being skeptical before. So I think they just need to come through, come and see, and MBVenu ushito wathi if they want to know very well about it, they can come and even ask and see the factory. They opened it.
You mentioned.
So yes.
Okay. Can you just emphasize Sigma Tapa, right?
Yes, Sigma Tapa. The only shop that is there, it's Matapa.
Which side in Matapa?
A factory.
Okay.
At the halal section.
Okay.
Yes.
How can my customers bangachumana njani nani, to understand, to know more ngema promotions la khona ne tinhlelo nje dazo le stolo to ensure ukuthi vele le Muslim community ayisaleli ngaphandle?
We're still yet to do it, but yeah, basis that we are like Muslim communities, like isibachela ukuthi go halal and all that, and introduce them to the nombolo tabo babe labahlabako. So for now, they can even take my number. It's
Please
fine.
give us your number.
They can get me from my number. It's 7815 4578.
Okay. Can you just say that again?
7815 4578.
Right. Your store is located Matapa.
Matapa,
They can just walk in anytime.
Anytime.
Sivula ngabani, sivale ngabani, if I may ask.
Sivula nga 7, sivala nga 5 o'clock.
Okay. Monday to
Saturday.
All right.
Saturdays sivala nga 3.
Okay.
But if banel order, they can even order prior. I can even stay stay behind and I'm there. It's just that come and let's meet and eat meat.
Let's meet and eat meat. Zawad Juma Lubuke Sitelo Sehalal Pasi Gwe Mbiveni Meat Industry. Siyalephetha lihlelo sibonga kakhulu ukuthi uhlala nathi kude bengilesikhathi lisuku alibeluhle usakahle.
Thank you.